Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. And this time, we're going to change things up a bit. Instead of jumping between a bunch of sources like we usually do today, we're going to go deep on just one.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's this really fascinating interview with Mike Tyson.
Oh, wow.
And you can just picture this, Tyson's on stage in front of all these entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Everyone's totally captivated, hanging on his every word.
I can only imagine that energy. Yeah.
And the thing is, right away, you can sense this isn't the Iron Mike that we're used to. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. He's so different now. It's almost like he's this thoughtful philosopher king or something.
Yeah, and that's what makes his insights even more compelling. He talks about life being a circle, you know. And he says this really striking line. He's like, "They'll hate me again one day, and then God willing, they'll respect me again one day."
Wow. Yeah. That's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think he means by that?
I think it shows a real self-awareness, you know, and maybe a sense of peace with how the public sees him.
Yeah, like he's not fighting it anymore. He's just accepting the ups and downs.
Right, and throughout the whole interview, he keeps coming back to this idea of belief, the power of belief.
Right? Yeah, he really hammers that home.
And not just in boxing, he's talking about belief in life in general.
And in yourself.
Exactly, and he has this awesome line where he says, "You have to be the champion in this to be the champion in this."
And he's pointing to his head and then to a boxing ring.
Exactly. He's making this direct connection between your mindset and your success.
And it's interesting because he talks about how he developed that belief. It wasn't just like some positive thinking trick, you know. He gives all the credit to his trainer, Cus D'Amato.
Right. Cus was more than a boxing coach. He was like a life coach.
Totally. D'Amato saw Tyson's potential, but he also saw those internal barriers holding him back.
So it was D'Amato who really shaped Tyson's mindset.
Yeah, and you can hear how emotional Tyson gets when he talks about Cus.
There's this one story he tells about when he was just 14 years old, sparring with this much older guy.
Right, and Tyson's clearly overmatched physically.
And then D'Amato leans in and tells him, "If you believe you're the champion, you can beat him right now."
It's like a switch flipped in Tyson's head.
That belief became his superpower.
It really makes you wonder what Tyson's life would have been like without that mentorship, you know?
Yeah, it seems like D'Amato gave him more than just boxing skills. He gave him the belief to become a champion.
It's amazing how much impact a mentor can have, especially when you're young and trying to find your way.
So then there's this other part of the interview where Tyson gets into some really unexpected territory.
Oh, you mean when he starts talking about psychedelic toad venom?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a controversial subject.
No doubt.
But it obviously had a huge impact on him. He credits it with weight loss, renewed focus, and this whole shift in perspective.
And more people are exploring psychedelics for personal growth these days, but it's a complicated topic for sure.
Oh, totally. But what struck me was how Tyson describes this experience as a turning point in his life. And he even says he met God during one of these experiences.
Now, that's a statement that's open to a lot of interpretation.
But it just shows how deep his transformation has been, you know?
Yeah, like he's searching for something beyond his old understanding of himself and the world.
It makes you think about all the different paths to self-discovery.
And the courage it takes to confront your inner demons.
It seems like Tyson's whole life has been this constant evolution, this willingness to push boundaries and experiment.
I wonder what drives that in him. What makes him want to keep changing and growing all the time?
And even with all this talk of self-reflection and spirituality, you can still see that raw, unpredictable energy in him, you know?
You mean like the killer instinct?
Exactly. Like when someone asks him about his approach to business, his eyes light up.
Like a fighter?
It's like a reminder that the fire is still there.
Yeah.
It's just being channeled in a different direction.
He's this fascinating paradox, the former heavyweight champion who's now into philosophy and self-help and psychedelics.
It's not what you'd expect. And he keeps you totally hooked wondering what he's going to say next.
Before we go any further, I just want to remind everyone to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell.
Yeah, and if you're digging these deep dives, you can support us on Patreon. The link's in the episode description.
We really appreciate all your support. It helps us keep making these conversations happen.
And we'd love to hear what you think about this episode.
What parts resonated with you? What questions do you have?
Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's keep this conversation going.
So, you know, we were just talking about how important Cus D'Amato was in Tyson's life.
Yeah.
And there's this story that Tyson tells that really shows just how deep their connection was.
Oh, yeah.
It's the one where Tyson is 14 years old, sparring with this older, more experienced fighter.
Yeah, he was totally outmatched.
Right. And D'Amato leans in and tells him, if you believe you're the champion, you can beat him right now.
And it's like something clicked for Tyson in that moment.
It's like that belief became his weapon, you know?
Totally. Like it gave him this incredible mental strength.
And it's amazing because Tyson wasn't just told to believe. D'Amato actually instilled that belief in him.
Through his training methods and just
Exactly.
constantly reinforcing Tyson's potential.
Exactly. D'Amato understood that being a fighter wasn't just about physical strength. It was about mindset.
Yeah, the real battle was in his head.
And he gave Tyson the mental tools to overcome his doubts and his fears.
And that mental toughness, that unwavering belief, it helped Tyson through some really dark times.
Both inside and outside the ring.
And you see how that belief carries over into other areas of his life too, like his business ventures.
Oh yeah, he has this really interesting philosophy about business.
He says all you need is a good mentor and a good lawyer.
Which sounds kind of oversimplified at first.
But there's a lot of wisdom in that, you know?
Totally. It's about surrounding yourself with the right people who can guide you and protect you.
And Tyson knows he doesn't have to be an expert in everything.
He just needs to trust the people who are...
There's this funny part where someone asks him how he chooses which business opportunities to pursue.
And Tyson just points to his lawyer and says he handles that stuff.
He knows his strengths and he knows his weaknesses.
That self-awareness is crucial.
It lets him focus on what he's good at and delegate the rest.
And another thing that struck me about Tyson's business philosophy is his emphasis on bringing value to the table.
He says, I'm wealthy because I'm valuable, not valuable because I'm wealthy.
It's such a powerful statement, you know?
He's not just chasing money. He's trying to create something worthwhile.
Something that benefits other people.
And throughout the interview, Tyson's really open about the tough times in his life.
Yeah, he talks about his struggles with addiction and his anger and his past mistakes.
And what's so compelling is his honesty.
He owns his past. You know, he doesn't try to hide from it.
There's this one part where he calls himself a relapse specialist.
He says he relapses before God gets the news.
It's raw, it's funny, and it shows how self-aware he is.
He also talks about how his priorities have changed over the years.
Yeah, he used to be all about fame and recognition.
Yet now he's got a family and grandkids.
His focus is different.
He's got more to lose, more to protect.
It seems like that's helped him control his impulses.
He doesn't need that external validation as much anymore.
Like he's found a deeper sense of purpose in his family.
Yeah, being a husband, a father, a grandfather.
And he even talks about his curiosity about death.
About what happens after we die.
It's a question most people avoid, but Tyson faces it head on.
It's a sign of his evolving spirituality.
Like he's searching for meaning beyond the material world, beyond his past.
And that search, that willingness to explore the unknown, it's still driving him.
He's constantly pushing himself to evolve, to learn, to grow, to become better.
And it's inspiring because it shows that no matter what you've done in your life, you can always change. You can always grow.
There's always room for redemption.
So before we wrap up this part of the deep dive, I wanted to remind everyone to leave your thoughts in the comments.
Yeah, tell us your takeaways, what resonated with you.
Let's keep the conversation going.
So we've been talking about some pretty deep stuff.
Yeah.
But there's also this fun side to Tyson that comes out sometimes. You know?
Oh, yeah, totally. He can be really funny.
But like when he's asked about his favorite movie and he says something about Mary.
I would never have guessed that.
It's those little glimpses into his personal life that make him seem so relatable.
Yeah, like a regular guy.
He talks about how his wife's a screenwriter.
Oh, wow.
And she's introduced him to all these movies and shows he'd never have watched on his own.
That's awesome.
It's just nice to see that side of him. You know, the husband who enjoys hanging out with his wife.
And trying new things.
Yeah, it shows that even the toughest guys can have a soft side.
It speaks to the power of relationships, you know?
Absolutely, like being open to new experiences and letting the people you love influence you.
And it kind of brings us back to that idea of constant evolution.
Right. Tyson's not stuck in the past. He's always learning and growing.
He even admits that he still struggles with anger sometimes.
That he has to work at controlling his impulses.
It's a good reminder that personal growth is a journey, not a destination.
And that even someone like Tyson, who's achieved so much, still has challenges.
We all do.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the mind of Mike Tyson, what are your final thoughts?
You know, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that transformation is always possible.
No matter who you are or what you've done.
Tyson's journey is like proof that we can change and grow and find redemption.
He's completely shattered that old image of Iron Mike.
Yeah, the scary fighter.
And shown us this complex, multifaceted person who's always evolving.
It's a good reminder that we shouldn't judge people by their past.
To be open to the possibility of change.
And never underestimate the power of self-reflection and growth.
We've only scratched the surface of this interview today.
Yeah.
So we encourage everyone to go check it out for yourselves.
Dive deeper into Tyson's world.
And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives.
We've got tons of fascinating conversations coming up.
Leave us a comment and let us know what you thought about this one.
We love hearing from you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.